This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Public Information Center meeting for the Meadowlands Parkway Bridge. We will begin our formal presentation right at 5:10 to give everyone a few minutes to join us on this GoToMeeting platform. And for those of you who are joining us via GoToMeeting, you will see on your screen right now the instructions on how to participate, including how to control your microphone, your mute button, and how to ask questions via the chat box. We want to thank everyone for your participation. And again, we will begin at 5:10 with our formal presentation. But if you have any questions until then, please feel free to use the chat box, which is located at the top of the screen. It's that middle button that looks like a little talk bubble. You click in there and you can ask your questions or comments that way until our meeting starts at 5:10 with the formal presentation. Again, we want to thank you all for participating tonight. about 5 after 5 now, and again, in just 5 minutes, we will begin the formal presentation. For those of you who have just joined us, on your screen, you will see all of the instructions on how to participate, how to control your microphone and your camera. And of course, as I've already mentioned, we invite all of your questions on this project tonight through the chat box, which is at the top right-hand side of your screen. It's the little chat bubble there. You can type your questions in there, and I will ask them when we get to Q&A. But we want to remind everyone that all comments should be made via email, mail, or through the project website to be considered official comments. And again, the website is it's Meadowlands Parkway Bridge.com. In 2 minutes, we will begin our formal presentation. So this is your last opportunity to please familiarize yourselves with the attendee information that you see on the screen. It has the answers to your questions about how to use the chat box, how to control your microphone and your camera. And once again, in about a minute, I will turn things over to I will introduce Bernie, and we'll get started in just a minute after I get through the announcements. All right, the time is now 5:10, and I am going to go ahead and get started by reading the introduction, and Bernie will get our PowerPoint presentation ready. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Public Information Center meeting for the Meadowlands Parkway Bridge. On behalf of the project team, I would like to thank everyone for participating in this evening's meeting. My name is Nicole Pace Adeo from Stokes Creative Group, and I am the Community Involvement Facilitator. Hudson County, in cooperation with the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and the Federal Highway Administration, are hosting tonight's online Public Information Center meeting to inform local residents, officials, businesses, and the general public of the local concept development study of the Meadowlands Parkway Bridge located in Secaucus. The purpose of tonight's Public Information Center meeting is to inform the public about the condition of the bridge and to solicit public input and comment towards the project's purpose and need. This meeting is being conducted in conformance with federal and state regulations. The public is invited and encouraged to comment on this study, and this meeting is open to all members of the public. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be visible on the project website for the public's review and comments on the project. We also appreciate your patience with this online format, and hopefully we will not have any technical glitches this evening. Now, before we get started with the formal presentation in just a moment, I would like to go over 3 quick housekeeping items so that you know how to participate in tonight's event. First is mute. We ask that everyone please remain muted to avoid any background noise so that you can hear the presentation clearly. The mute button is at the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Secondly is the video button. At the bottom of the screen, you'll also see the video function, and you can turn it on or off there. Video is not required to participate. And third is the chat box, which I mentioned earlier. At the top right corner of the screen, you will see 3 icons. The middle one looks like a talk bubble, and that's the chat box. You should submit your questions as the meeting is going on, and later we'll go through and answer them. When the questions have been addressed in the chat box during the Q&A, we will then open the meeting to additional questions that may come up, and you can certainly voice them verbally. I will unmute the phone participants individually and ask for any verbal questions. We will ensure that everyone has a chance to participate. And I will explain more about those details when we get to the Q&A portion. But for now, I'd like to introduce Bernie Borchers, the project manager from GPI, who will share with you the presentation and start the meeting. All right, Bernie, it's all yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole. Good afternoon, well, actually good evening, and thank you for joining our presentation of the Meadowlands Parkway Bridge over Norfolk Southern Rail Line's local concept development study. My name is Bernie Borchers, and I'm serving as the consultant project manager for this study. Please note that today's Public Information Center is the first of 2 Public Information Centers to be held during the course of concept development. For this, the first Public Information Center, we'll be requesting your input on the project's purpose and need. We would appreciate any input you have regarding your concerns or questions related to the bridge, along with safety and mobility within the study area. During the course of today's presentation, I will cover the following: the project team, the project delivery process, the project location and the limits of the study area, the existing condition of the bridge, along with safety and mobility, the environmental constraints, the crash and traffic data and analysis as already performed by the project team, the results of the stakeholder surveys that we have received to date, the work that's been completed to date, what are the next steps following the Public Information Center, and I'll make a pitch to you to direct you to the project website to receive the latest information on the study, and finally, we'd like to hear your questions and comments. At this time, I would like to present the project team. Representing Hudson County, we have Mr. Thomas Malvasi, who is the county engineer and serves as the county's project manager for this study. He is joined by Mr. Jose Sierra, who is the director of traffic and transportation for the county. From the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority, NJTPA, we have joining us Ms. Sardra Colon, who serves as the NJTPA's project manager. From the New Jersey Department of Transportation, we have Ms. Pam Garrett from the Bureau of Environmental Program Resources. And from the Bureau of Local Aid, we have Mr. Nabil Ayub and Mrs. Marina Gala. And finally, We have from Green Peterson, Inc., the consultant. We have myself, Bernie Borchers, serving as the project manager, and Mr. Bill Farrow, serving as the deputy project manager. This slide basically covers the project delivery process. The project delivery process consists of 4 distinct phases. The first phase is the concept development phase, which we are currently in. This is followed by preliminary engineering, final design, and then the actual construction of the project. During the concept development phase, we collect available data regarding the current condition of the bridge, the status of safety and operations along Meadowlands Parkway, and constraints within the study limits, including the railroad and the environment. As you'll see when I'll present on another slide, we also performed an environmental screening to identify all the environmental constraints and cultural resources within the study area. From the status collection effort and input received from local officials, stakeholders, and the public, we then developed the project's purpose and need statement. The purpose of the project is supported by the need, which in this case is the condition of the bridge, along with its limitations to safely serve multimodal uses. Once we have finalized our purpose and need statement, we then develop alternatives to mitigate the identified deficiencies within the context of the community. Once the alternatives are developed, we will then reach out again to the local officials, stakeholders, and yourselves, the public, to receive feedback on the alternatives. So at this time, we do not have alternatives. We're seeking your input on the project purpose and what the needs are. But using this feedback and the constraints identified during the course of concept development, a preliminary preferred alternative is selected, and the entire process is documented in the concept development report. This preliminary preferred alternative, if approved by the appropriate agencies, is then advanced to the next phase, which is preliminary engineering. This slide basically shows the flow diagram of the activities performed during the concept development phase. The activity circled in red is the first public information center, which is where we are today. As everybody knows, the subject bridge is located within Town of Secaucus along the Meadowlands Parkway between American Way to the north and Seaview Drive to the south. The subject bridge carries the Meadowlands Parkway over the Norfolk Southern Rail lines, Secaucus Road, and a tidal tributary to the Hackensack River. It was constructed in 1973 and is currently owned by the Town of Secaucus. Emergency repairs were done on the bridge in 2005 and 2018. The bridge consists of 5 spans. It is 316 feet long and 55 feet wide. The superstructure is a simply supported steel multi-stringer structure supporting a reinforced concrete deck. The substructure consists of reinforced concrete stub abutments and multi-column bents supported by piles. According to the 12th Cycle Bridge Reevaluation Survey Report, the superstructure has significant section loss at the stringer ends. The substructure exhibits large areas of spalled and delaminated concrete along with wide cracks, and the deck has large spalls, heavy scaling, cracks with efflorescence in the east and west deck soffits, and corrosion of the stay-in-place forms at various locations. As noted previously, emergency repairs were performed in 2005 and 2018. The 2018 priority repairs included the addition of column supports under numerous stringers and the replacement of several end diaphragms. You can actually see the column supports in the lower picture. There are several utilities that are located on the bridge, including a 2-inch fiber optic conduit, an 8-inch gas main located below the east fascia, an abandoned 6-inch water main on the northern end of the east fascia, 10 5-inch electrical conduits, 8 4-inch telephone conduits, and a 20-inch water main. Meadowlands Parkway is classified as a major arterial, carrying an average of 15,400 vehicles per day. On the bridge, there are 2 12-foot wide lanes in each direction with no adjoining shoulders or sidewalks on the bridge or the approaches to the bridge. The posted speed limit is 30 miles per hour. Meadowlands Parkway on the bridge is tangential, but on either approach, there's a 600-foot and a 1,200-foot radius, south and north of the bridge, respectively. Pole-mounted lighting exists on both approaches to the bridge, and on the bridge itself proper, there's parapet-mounted lighting. Several bus routes cross over the Meadowlands Parkway Bridge, including buses from New Jersey Transit and Meadowlink Easy Ride. Meadowlands Parkway, as you all know, provides a direct connection to Route 3 and an indirect connection to New Jersey Turnpike Exit 15X and the Frank Lautenberg Rail Station. The land use immediately surrounding the project limits consists of mixed development of residential and industrial commercial with Harmon Cove Towers and townhomes located in the northwest quadrant of the bridge, along with the Hudson Regional Hospital located to the north of the bridge. The environmental study area, those limits extended approximately, oops, I apologize, seem to have skipped. That's the study area extended approximately 115 feet from the bridge, and the study area includes a tributary to the Hackensack River. It has an associated riparian zone of 50 feet. There's mapped wetland features. It's the NJDP landscape project ranked 3 habitat, that's for wildlife. And a FEMA 100-year floodplain exists throughout the project area. In addition, the railroad is considered a historic district and property. It's known as the Erie Railroad Main Line Historic District and New Jersey Transit Bergen County Line. The photo on the left is of the tie gate located approximately 275 feet south of the bridge, and the photo on the right is of the tributary to the Hackensack River. The Hackensack River tributary has been classified as a freshwater Category 2 non-trout water body. We have several anticipated permits for this project, including a Army Corps of Engineers freshwater wetlands permit, DEP waterfront development permit, DEP coastal zone consistency determination, DEP flood hazard area individual permit. We'll need a soil erosion and sediment control permit, and also a New Jersey pollutant discharge elimination system construction stormwater general permit. To analyze the crash history within the project limits, we collected the individual crash reports for all vehicular crashes for the 3-year period between January 1st, 2016 and December 31st, 2018, and all the pedestrian bicycle crash reports for the 5-year period between January 1st, 2014 and December 31st, 2018. We identified 36 vehicular crashes for the 3-year period and no pedestrian bicycle crashes for the 5-year period. The resultant crash rate was 2.85 crashes per million vehicle miles. Overrepresented crash types as compared to roadways with a similar cross-section include same direction sideswipe, left turn, and fixed object. Overrepresented crash conditions include at signalized intersection. It should be noted that there was no overrepresentation of wet or nighttime conditions, which typically indicates adequate drainage and roadway lighting. It should also be noted that the majority of identified crashes were at the intersection of Meadowlands Parkway and American Way and not at the bridge itself. To analyze potential detour options, and once again, this is just potential detour options. There has been nothing set in stone as how this bridge is going to be constructed yet. We're still in the very early stages of concept development. But should a detour be required, we perform classified manual turning movement counts at the signalized intersections of Meadowlands Parkway and American Way, Meadowlands Parkway and Seaview Drive and County Avenue, and Secaucus Road and County Avenue, along with the ramps from Meadowlands Parkway to Harmon Cove Towers and Secaucus Road. The traffic data collection program was performed in September of 2019. We counted cars, trucks, buses, pedestrians, and bicyclists. The AM midday and PM peak hour volumes by movement were summarized on traffic flow diagrams as indicated on this slide. And this slide is simply a continuation of the traffic flow diagram showing the turning movements at County Avenue. One of the potential detour routes for either a two-direction or one-direction detour is along Seaview Drive, County Avenue, Secaucus Road, Harts Way, and American Way. The land use along this potential detour route is primarily commercial and industrial. The selection of a detour route would be done in close coordination with local officials and emergency responders, with significant consideration given to emergency response times. Also, any potential detour route will also be evaluated for adequate roadway geometry and reserve capacity. We did perform an analysis of this potential detour route. Once again, I like to stress potential for capacity and level of service. And it indicates that the addition of detoured volumes along this potential detour route, coupled with modifications to the signal timings, would not significantly diminish the capacity and level service of the roads along the detour route. Our stakeholder survey results. As of today, we have 42 responses to our community input survey, which can be found on the project website at www.meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. If you have not yet completed the survey, please find some time to do so. It's a great way to have your voice heard. The first two questions on the survey are, how often do you use this bridge in a month? And do you use public transportation in this area? And the majority of replies stated that they use the bridge and public transportation often or every day. The third question on the survey inquired as to the type of public transportation do you use? The most common answer was New Jersey Transit by far. The fourth question asked how often do you walk or bike across the bridge as part of a recreational activity? While the number one answer was often, several respondents also answered seldom or none, or sparingly. I apologize. The fifth question asked how is this study important to you? The most common answers were that you were either a resident or a commuter, and that you walk, bike, or use transit or any combination of the same. The sixth question asked, what are the key issues in the study area as you see them? The most common responses were access, safety, traffic, mobility, and aesthetics. Questions numbers 7 and 8 were fill-in questions regarding possible stakeholders and just an opportunity for any additional comments, questions, or suggestions. There was common themes. Those common themes were the importance of safety, the need for sidewalks and bike lanes, and the ability to turn into and out of Harmon Cove Towers. It was also noted that the stakeholders should include all Harmon Cove residents and the Homeowners Association, New Jersey Transit, and local businesses and people that work in the area. The activities that we have completed to date in the concept development phase include we have identified the controlling substandard design elements and deficiencies. We initiated coordination with utility companies. We prepared the environmental screening. We have initiated the community survey. We have developed a project website. We have developed a public information action plan. We've already had a meeting with the local officials, and we held our first stakeholders meeting. And right now, we're currently holding our first public information center. With the completion of our public information center today, our next steps for this concept development study include confirming the project's purpose and need based on the input we have received to date from the local official stakeholders and the public, along with our inventory, assessment, analysis of the existing conditions. We will then develop alternatives to address the project's purpose and need. The alternatives analysis should be completed sometime in November. With the alternatives in hand, we will then hold our second set of meetings with local officials, stakeholders, and the public. Based on the input we have received to date from the local officials and stakeholders, along with our inventory assessment and analysis of the existing conditions, we have developed a draft purpose and need statement. This draft purpose and need statement will be updated to reflect the input that we receive at this public information center. The draft purpose is to restore the structural and operational integrity of the bridge and provide a safe, efficient, and reliable crossing for all modes of transportation. The need that supports this purpose is the deteriorated condition of the bridge and the fact that Meadowlands Parkway is a major arterial that serves as a direct connection to Route 3 and an indirect connection to exit 15X of the New Jersey Turnpike and the Frank Lautenberg rail station. We also have other goals and objectives that have been identified for this project, and they include enhanced bicycle and pedestrian compatibility, sorry about that, to avoid or minimize impacts to vehicular, pedestrian, and bicyclist traffic during construction. We want to maintain the required clearances to the Norfolk Southern tracks. We want to avoid or minimize social, economic, and environmental impacts. And we want to do this while we're considering the context of the project area and identify any potential aesthetic enhancements. Once again, please take the time to visit our project website at www.meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. The website provides you with the latest information regarding the project and also allows you to provide your comments and suggestions. Also, please take the survey if you had not had the chance yet. To submit an official comment, you can either email your comment to Nicole or Tom at the email addresses listed on this slide. You can mail your comment to Nicole at the address indicated, or you can submit your comment via the webpage under the ribbon Contact Us. And please, if you can, submit all your comments by September 8th. At this time, I would like to turn it back over to Nicole, and I guess we'll answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bernie, for that presentation. All right. We are now going to begin answering any questions that you have about the project. As a reminder, you should submit all of your questions through the chat box. It's the icon at the top right of the screen. And if you would like to verbally ask your question, you should just type in the word question or please unmute me, and I will then call on you in order and unmute you so you can speak with the team directly. Please note, once again, as Bernie mentioned, all official comments must be made via email, mail, or through the project website. The chat box is only for questions pertaining to this project tonight and are not recorded as official records. Alrighty, let's take a look here. We've got some questions already coming in. All right. The first question I was asked was, is this meeting to pass ideas around, or is everything already fixed and we're just being informed? I did reply to him and I said that the idea here was to present your comments to towards the project and what future improvements you would like to see, and nothing had been fixed or prepared. Is that an accurate response?
Yeah, if I can expand on that, Nicole.
Sure.
We actually have, in the concept development phase, there's 2 public information centers. And really the process goes, the concept development phase goes, we collect the data in the beginning. There's a lot of data to be collected. Then, of course, we analyze that data. And we then go and try to develop our purpose and need statement. Why are we doing this project and the need that supports this project? And that's where we're at now. So really what we're focusing on is to get everybody's input on why should we have this project and the justification for this project, the need. Actually, we can talk about some of the improvements that you want to see, but once we end today's meeting, we're going to quickly finish up the purpose and need statement, and then we're going to start developing alternatives. Once we start developing the alternatives, we're going to come back again and present these alternatives, and then we could have an even better discussion. Generally, I find the second discussion is generally more, you'll see more of the things that you want to see. You'll be seeing the improvements, some of the improvements that are possible. So yeah. So this is nothing that's been set yet. We're at the very beginning.
Great. And speaking of improvements, the next comment was that they would like to see the bridge include a sidewalk and a bicycle lane. And I did respond to that, and I said, thank you for the comment, and I would share it with the team. But again, all official comments must be made in writing via email, mail, or through the project website.
Yeah, and once again, what we in our purpose and need statement, our draft purpose and need statement, we noted that all modes of transportation will be considered as part of this concept development study. And those modes of transportation include not only motorists, but pedestrians, bicyclists, transit users. So we will definitely be looking at alternatives that will include sidewalk and bike lanes. So I do have a question that maybe I can send back to the public. Is there a side of the bridge that is more heavily used by pedestrians than the other side, or are both sides, equally used? If somebody can maybe answer that question, that'd be great to know.
And pretty much an identical question was, did the project include the possibility of traffic improvements or changes to the roads that lead to and from the bridge? And I'm pretty sure that is what you just said, right?
Well, the focus is on the bridge itself.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we will look at how we're going to tie down those improvements to the approach roadways. But it's not going to, it won't creep much farther than the approach roadways. So
I'm sorry, I meant to ask that this individual added to that question. For example, there's no way to cross the bridge from Harmon Cove Towers. There's no way to get onto the bridge, and U-turns are not allowed at American Way.
right, we understand that, and we know there is the access to Harmon Cove Towers on the southbound direction. And I do know people make left turns onto that driveway in the northbound direction as well. We will look at that. We will definitely investigate that, and as in our alternatives analysis. There's many factors that go into something like that. If you have people exiting, or we try to modify that driveway operation anyway, we also have to be cognizant of stopping site distance, etc. So there's a lot of factors that play into that, but it definitely will be considered in the alternatives.
Okay. Let me just make sure everyone is muted here. Okay. All right. Are you doing anything to manage flooding during and after the project?
Flooding is, and I guess that'd be on some of the approach roadways. It is really outside the scope of this work. I don't know if maybe Sargent, if you could add to that, or Tom, but I think that's really outside the scope of work, is to address flooding in the area.
Yeah, I would say if there's specific areas that there are flooding concerns, send it as a formal comment, and we will work with Secaucus, because it is the approach roads belong to Secaucus, so we can work with them to see what can be done if there's areas of specific flooding that you'd like addressed.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay. How long will this take once approved?
Oh, maybe I'll leave that for Sargent. But if she wants me to answer, I can do that as well. Sargent?
Sure. The concept development study is a 2-year process. So once it graduates concept development, And if the IRC, the Interagency Review Committee, approves the project to advance to the next phase, then it's a 2-year preliminary engineering study and then a 2-year final design, and then that's when it reaches construction. So it's officially about 5 years out before it reaches construction. I hope I answered that.
Yeah, assuming everything is funded. Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarabjit. Will this project address signage issues on the Meadowlands Parkway to Secaucus Road loop under the bridge? If not, who should address these issues?
Well, under the bridge on Secaucus Road, once again, that's under, as Tom had mentioned, that is, those roadways are under the jurisdiction of the town of Secaucus. But depending on the alternatives as well. I mean, if we do something that modifies the operation, then obviously we will address the signage. Tom, is there anything you'd like to add to that, or?
I would just add that whatever alternative we wind up with, the signage will meet state standards. So it'll be new signage and it'll be clear to direct people the way they need to go with whatever solution we come up with.
Thanks, Tom. Bernie, to answer your question, someone typed into the chat box that the side closer to the river was the side.
Oh, okay. That's what we observed. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Someone would like to be unmuted. David H., I will unmute you. All right, David, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
See that. Thank you. I submitted some of the comments above in the chat boxes. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on them. I'm in Harmon Cove Towers specifically. The bridge, I understand why the bridge is designed the way it was years ago. There was nothing on the south side of the bridge that needed to be gotten to back then. But since then, there's deficiencies in all 3 modes of transportation: pedestrian, public transport, and driving. I just want to know what the thought process has already been on some of these things. Like pedestrian, there used to be a pedestrian walkway across the bridge. It was not on the bridge, it was adjacent to it. And it was meant to access the New Jersey Transit train platform. When they stopped stopping trains there, they took the thing out rather than fix it. So that was one thing that was already there that was taken out. I don't know why they didn't build a new train platform under the new track, but they chose not to. So that was gone. On the public transportation problem, buses can't get from Harmon Cove over the bridge, as I said, because you can't get from Harmon Cove over the bridge without going back. So that's the problem there. And if you're trying to get off at Harmon Cove, the stop is a full 100 yards beyond there because there's no way along Meadowlands Parkway to stop. I don't know if it would be possible to have a wide spot on the bridge where there could be a stop when you're headed north on Meadowlands Parkway to be let off there or something, or even picked up there, or if that's even a possibility. But right now, there's no good way to get on or off on public transportation. And driving, as I commented, you can't get from Harmon Cove Towers to the bridge because there's no way up. The only way goes north. You can't get south over the bridge. And then when you get to American Way and want to make a U-turn, you can't to go back over the bridge. You have to go all the way down. You either have to make a right and do some fancy stuff on American Way, or go down to Harmon Cove to the hospital practically to come back. So maybe that's something Secaucus has to work on. Maybe a wide spot could allow a U-turn. That may be the cheapest way to address the Harmon Cove to the bridge problem. But I don't know which of those problems have been brought up and addressed. So that's my question basically. On all 3 modes of transportation: pedestrian, public, and driving.
Those are all good points. We're definitely, like I said before, we will definitely look at the access to Harmon Cove, and we will work with the town of Secaucus. We'll look at direct access, which may or may not be feasible depending on the environmental impacts and the other impacts. But it will definitely be part of our alternatives analysis. And then we could also work with the town of Secaucus to see other solutions. The buses, we will definitely take a hard look at that as far as ability to access transit, closer to Harmon Cove. The ped access, once again, sidewalks will definitely be investigated, and they'll definitely be part of our alternatives analysis on either one or both sides of the structure. So we will definitely look at all those items, and I really appreciate the input.
All right, thank you
Okay,
very
thanks.
much.
I just want to make sure those things were all at the design
No,
stage.
it's great.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Another comment here. As someone who walks across the bridge, I use the shoulder facing traffic whenever I walk. And that again, Bernie, is going back to which side of the bridge you were asking the question.
Yeah, that's great to know. Thank you.
Okay. Another comment, there is flooding and ponding under the bridge as there are breaches in storm drains.
Ponding, flooding underneath the bridge. Okay.
What if the bridge has more severe failure before the next 5-year window?
The bridge is inspected every 2 years. So we will continue with repairs. Repairs will be done as necessary to ensure the safety of the bridge. So that should not be a concern. The bridge will remain safe to cross.
Okay. I see Dale, I believe, was raising his hand. I'm sorry, Dale, I didn't see you. Go ahead, Dale. I'm going to unmute you. All right, the floor is yours, Dale.
Very simple thing. The bridge is located in Secaucus. Secaucus is part of the Meadowlands district. The NJSEA generally has jurisdiction over any construction work that is done in the 14 municipalities within the Meadowlands district. Does this process go through NJSEA at some point? Question.
That's a good question. NJSCA will be as a stakeholder in the process. Will actually be required for they to review the contract documents. I'm not 100% sure on that. Sargent, do you have an answer to that? I do not believe so. But that's a good question, and I'll get back to you on that. But if Sargent or Tom might know as well. But I don't believe they actually will need to review. They'll be made aware of the plan, the project, and they're a stakeholder, obviously. But I'm sorry, Sarge, go ahead.
No, they are a stakeholder, that is correct, on this project, but I don't know if they are required to review or provide any comments. I mean, they're welcome to provide us with any feedback on the project, but I don't know if it's required.
Yeah, I agree with Sargent. When we do road improvements or improvements to our bridges, we don't need to involve the NJSEA normally. The only time we would involve them for our roads is if a signal is part of the interactive system, where we'll coordinate with them on improvements, but we will certainly check with them and see what involvement they want to have. But I don't think that they have to, but we'll certainly keep them involved in the process.
The reason I'm saying you might want to contact Sarah Sundell, who is the engineering project lady there. Normally, when you say your roads, you're talking about county roads, which is not in their jurisdiction. But this road is a town road. The bridge will revert back to you after it's done, but right now it's still a Secaucus bridge. So I just give her a call, clear it through, or call Vinnie Pietro, and
Absolutely.
just make sure rather than get stuck later on.
Absolutely.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One other small thing. There is icing that happens on the bridge. Very often cars can't get up the hill to access the bridge, or they slide down during the winter. Some roads have a surface capability. I'm going to say this and don't snicker. Beet juice that raises the temperature of the road to prevent icing, or a substance within the laying of the road surface. Is there a way that you can add something to reduce the icing and make it less difficult to go up and down the bridge during times of icing?
Well, in the short term, we can talk to Secaucus. Again, it's their bridge, their jurisdiction. What we've been doing on some of our bridges is we're putting a high friction surface that helps with friction. So that's helped. I'm not aware of the beet juice technology, but I can certainly look that up.
Yeah, Long Island has used it very successfully on the roads during, because when you put sand, you get deterioration of the road, which makes auto body shops very happy. The beet juice deal avoids that problem. Another small question. Has any opposition arisen to the reconstruction of the bridge?
I haven't received any to date.
The Hackensack Riverkeeper, who's always concerned about environmental issues, they have not popped up yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Don. Another comment here says it's dangerous to get on and walk over the bridge as a pedestrian or a biker.
That's on.
Another.
Yeah. We'll definitely look at addressing that. Absolutely.
Okay. Another question. Are the entry and exit points directly onto the bridge from the Harmon Cove Tower's upper platform able to be included in this project?
Well, that's we're going to be. I mean, it'll be investigated as part of the alternatives analysis. We will look at seeing how access to Harmon Cove Towers, is impacted, and if it can be improved as part of the alternatives analysis.
Okay. We are caught up on the chat box. I've encouraged everyone to please type unmute if they would like to verbally ask additional questions. But we do have 4 callers who are on the line, and I would like to give them an opportunity to speak as well. So I'm going to go one by one, and I know I don't see anyone's name here, but if you're on the line, could you tell me your name, please? Hello?
Hi, my name is Ian Godfrey. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, who else is on the line? Hello?
Gary?
Hi, Gary. Do you have a question for the team?
I've been putting my questions into the chat so far, and obviously, if I have any others, I'll put them on the survey in the official capacity.
Thank you very much. All right, and how about this last one? Anyone else on the line? Anyone? Okay. All right, so we've gotten through all of our callers and we've gotten through all of our chat box questions. Bernie, is there anything else? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you waving your hand there, Don? I'm sorry. I can't see that. I'm seeing too many things here. All right, you're unmuted. Go ahead, Don.
All right, you're 2020 now. By 2025, you're going to begin the idea of putting construction in process. It's contingent upon you getting funding, which at the moment you don't have. If there is no funding, I assume there is no construction. Would that be reasonable?
That's
if that's
reasonable.
the case, if that's the case, is this bridge in condition 1, 2, 3? And there's something called 4 when the bridge just implodes? And have you figured out when that condition will arise? Year 2030, year 2035, or year 2026?
Actually, Bill Farrow is our structural engineer. Maybe Bill, you can answer that question, or?
I mean, the bridge itself is with the repairs that were just completed on it by the Town of Secaucus. It's they were emergency type repairs that had an impact to capacity of the bridge and its service life. So it's reaching the end of its life. And with each ongoing biennial inspection, the inspections every 2 years, you know, it is further deteriorating. So it does need to be replaced. And with the CD work here going into PE, that'll be, you know, evaluated the alternatives to replace it or to rehab the bridge in place and not do a full replacement. So that'll all be worked on, but the structure is reaching the end of its useful life and it does need replacement.
How do you pitch it?
Right, but the county is doing repairs on it to make sure that it doesn't, you know, continue to deter any further, so that, you know, that vehicular traffic can continue to cross over the bridge, and that there is no issues in that effect.
Okay, but at the moment, you've got a consulting firm that's leading the process. You're competing with maybe 40 other construction projects for finite dollars. How are you going to present this particular project in such a way that it moves to the head or to the top 20% of potential projects needing funding by the year 2025?
Well, that's where we have to make sure that the purpose and need statement that we're developing right now, that it is developed in such a way that we have enough backup data to show the need and the goals, to show that the need is there for replacement or rehab or whatever that needs to get done at this location.
And also, you know, there's structural ratings when they do every inspection and report, as you probably know. There's structural ratings, and as those ratings continue to drop, as they are expected to, the ratings drop on the bridge, and it moves up the ladder on need. So, I mean, you know, we already did 2 sets of emergency repairs. We don't want to continue that. We have other projects, bridge projects that in the pipeline that even haven't had emergency priority repairs. So this is going to probably move up fairly easily, considering the investments that have been made already in maintaining the structure. It's like a car, you know, how much maintenance you want to put into it before you get a new one. And once again, I don't want to say we're going to replace the structure. There's also the rehabilitation option that we will look at. So if it can be rehabilitated and we can get the service life, you know, Bill will calculate life cycle cost analysis, and we'll determine what is the most, I would guess, cost-effective solution for the long term.
When you do your final presentations, are they in written form only, or are they written and verbal presentations?
To the IRC, when we finish this phase, it's actually written, and we do a presentation. I mean, right now, we used to do a presentation with Sargent and others in person, but given the current circumstances,
Right. Also, a concept development report is submitted to the IRC. So they get a 1,000-page report that they review, and they comment on that. So this project, the end report it's a pretty thick document. So
okay.
I bet Ulysses S. Grant didn't have to do that, right?
I believe that is correct. He saw no higher authority than the flow of the river and the bridge, Pontoon Bridge.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Any additional questions, Nicole?
No, we are caught up. So is there anyone else that's here with us that would like to ask questions? We want to encourage everyone to participate. I know there's several other people I can see on the video, and welcome all of you to be unmuted or raise your hand or wave or something, and I will certainly call on you if you have additional questions. The chat box is very quiet. Bernie, is there any other questions you'd like to throw out to the participants today?
I think we got another question in the chat box.
It just came up. Yep. The question is, should I write up what I talked about and submit it? And yes, that is the best way for everyone to participate with their comments and questions. We do encourage everyone to send them in writing so that we do have them. The chat box tonight is primarily for questions to ask the team live while we're here during the meeting, but all official comments we ask that you submit right here on the screen. You can see there's 3 ways to do it. You can mail them to me at my office. You can email them to me or Tom Malavasi. And also there's a contact us page on the website on the meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. And there you will see the contact form and submit your feedback directly through the website. It's very easy. And again, that date for feedback, we are looking for by September 8th, please.
I mean, we're here till 7, so. I don't know if Dawn gets documentary night like I do. I get Friday night. My wife allows me to watch a documentary only once a week. It's probably the best night of the week for me. So I did see the Grant series. That was excellent. That was really good. So.
In looking at the survey responses that we've received thus far, Bernie and fellow GPI team members, is there anything that struck you as interesting or anything that made you want to ask additional questions or investigate it further? We've got the participants here, so I thought it would give you a good opportunity to engage with some of your most interested stakeholders.
At this time, I mean, I think the input's been good. I definitely see the need for the sidewalk, the pedestrians. Even if you go to Google Earth and you download the image, you go to Street View, you'll see a pedestrian crossing the bridge, and they're crossing on that safety walk, which Bill will probably know. I think it's like 2 feet wide or something around there. So that's definitely a concern. So I was happy that was brought up today. The bicycle lane is also is interesting. I know personally I couldn't bike up and over the bridge, but I'm sure others can. So.
Once again, I'm encouraging everyone to ask additional questions or provide additional comments. Please don't hesitate. You can type them in the chat box or you can ask verbally. Here's another question. Did the majority of the surveys submitted come from the towers, townhouses, or other stakeholders? Trying to ascertain which stakeholders have a more vested interest.
That's a good question. And Nicole, I think you have that answer, right? I think most of them did come from the towers, I believe, right?
Yes, most of them did.
So we appreciate that greatly. We may have to do some more outreach to try to get some input from the local businesses as well. So we will try, but we really appreciate the input that the towers has provided to date. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I would say the majority of the stakeholders are from the towers. They seem to have the most interest in the project. Here's a fun question. Was anyone on the current team involved in the design or construction of the bridge in 1973?
Is that from Don?
No, it's not. No, it's not. He's got his hands up. He said, nope, wasn't me.
It wasn't me. No.
I wasn't even I wasn't in high school yet. I wasn't in high school yet by 1973.
All right, that is a unanimous.
That help?
It's a good question, actually. It's funny, you know, we have bridges from the 1930s. I mean, since we have time, you know, you can always cut me off, but we have bridges from the 1930s that were so overbuilt because manpower was so readily available that have lasted, 90 years and are still structurally competent. This is not, I know for Bill and myself, this is not our first bridge from the 1970s that we're looking at that needs repairs. So, it's a little disappointing. We tried to build I think 75 years is what we typically shoot for on a structure. And here we are 50 years. So this is a premature deterioration of the structure. So a little disappointing. So, but no, the only one I could think of that would be close would be Tom, and Tom says he wasn't involved. So,
yeah, I wasn't. So, and I'll add to what Bernie just said. But the difference, probably the difference between the bridges built in the 30s was because they were built by government agencies that had a lot of, labor, and it was over designed. This bridge was built by a developer whose
good point.
Goal was not a long lasting bridge. It was to build the cheapest bridge you could, and that's probably why we're in the situation we're in today. That's just my editorial comment for why the bridge is struggling.
That's a good point. Don's got a question.
Yep, I see him. All right, Don, you're unmuted.
Yeah. It's not so much a question, but you want to get more people aware of what you're involved in. We have 1,200 people in Harmon Cove Towers. You only have 37 responses. The townhouses add another 1,400. So arrange an interview. We'll get it in the August issue of the Secaucus Spectator. We go to 77% of all of the houses in the town, 15,000 people. So figure out how you want to do a setup. We'll give you some space for it. Do an interview, get it out so that you get your September 8th additional commentary, which will give you more insight than just from 37 folks. So at some point, reach out to me and we'll make something happen.
Well, we appreciate that, Don. Thank you very much. That'd be great.
I got to do that for somebody who's watching Grant. I mean, that's high level stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, his bridge didn't last 50 years, but I guess he didn't really need it. So.
I have to tell you, we built the pontoon bridge. It took 2.5 hours to do. And I was Army engineer, Corps of Engineers. And the captain then had to take his Jeep and go across that bridge. So we had to make sure that he did not get wet. Just saying.
Just saying. It's like that cartoon that they have where they said, how do you know the bridge loading on a bridge? And I know this is how Bill designs his bridge. You keep driving over a heavier truck until it falls down, and then you rebuild it.
The town will extend their sidewalk on the far side across from Harmon Cove. They're bringing that up. It will go up to American Way, where the bus stop is on the corner. If you guys can work with Mike, then Ganelli, then what they'll do is they can extend that to the base of the bridge. You put your sidewalk on the far side and run that across. The bike lanes are on the Harmon Cove side, but they go up to the hospital. Then they swing behind the townhouses. So there's not a direct part from the hospital to ride a bike and get it up. There is a sidewalk that goes right up to Harmon Cove Towers, and then we drop that little road that goes under the bridge. That's where it stops. So when Mike gets the sidewalk on the left side, we got to figure out what to do with the bike lane, because you don't want to have folks coming up and then crossing diagonally across. That's very hazardous for them and for cars. The only other thing that we would have is it is apparently illegal to have a car go across a white striped area for pedestrian traffic. And if there's a way to build a white striped area down by the bus stop that would allow people to walk across. The only problem is you got 15,000 cars per day going through, and I don't think they want to stop every time someone gets off the bus and runs across Meadowlands Parkway.
That bus stop that you're talking about, is that American Way or?
Yeah, it's at American Way, right on the corner. And so now what occurs is people look left, right, and then they make a dash to get across. And the same thing for the folks who come out of Harmon Cove Towers. If they live in Tower 3, they exit out of Tower 3, and then they shoot across the Meadowlands Parkway, which is dangerous to them and dangerous for the cars.
Right.
But there's some way to build the striping that they could at least go down there and use that with a little bit of protection, because legally you can't drive, you can't hit somebody in the white striped area. The hunting doesn't allow that.
No.
So at the moment we're vamping. Okay.
All right, well, I've got a couple more comments coming in. Let's see what we've got here. Well, as in the 1930s, we may soon have a lot of people with no jobs that we can use to help this project.
Well, I hope not.
I hope not too.
Yeah.
Why not reconstruct the off-roadway attached pedestrian walkway off the river side of the bridge? People can cross at Seaview Drive.
Oh, that's a possibility. I mean, we can consider, we've had projects where it'd basically be a separate structure. I don't know how cost efficient if we're going to place the one structure, if that's the alternative that's advanced. I mean, we still have rehabilitation as an option, but we can look at that. Absolutely.
Okay. And there were some other comments coming in, as I believe Don was speaking, someone said everyone then has to stay on the right side. You can't see them at night. No crossing, no danger. And we only have a few additional people still on the line and on the GoToMeeting. So, all right, David would like to be unmuted again. Excellent. All right, David, I've unmuted you. You can speak now.
Okay, I just wanted to combine the statements I put before. I'm the one that talked about the off-roadway. The off-roadway attached pedestrian walkway is the way it was to get to the New Jersey Transit train tracks, to get to the platform, which was on the south side of the tracks. Now, why they discontinued that station with several thousand people in Harmon Cove towers and townhouses, they didn't just pour another concrete platform, but just tore it up completely, I don't know. But the point was it was separate. Nobody crossed. I mean, you couldn't cross. There was a fence between the walkway and the road, and you were safely off on the one side. And if anybody needs to cross from the other side, they can do it either at Seaview Drive or American Way, because there's no reason to cross in between on the bridge. So it must have been cost effective, or I wouldn't think they would have constructed it that way in the first place. It was just kind of hanging off. It almost looked like it was a separate thing. It was like a notch below. It wasn't even at the same level as the bridge. It was about a foot below the bridge, but parallel to it. And then on the other side, it went down. Then when they tore up the track, they just put up a sign saying "Don't cross here anymore," and then they tore the thing out. But there was no safety consideration on that because you were not interacting with the road at all anywhere between the towers and both streets on both sides on Seaview or American Way. So again, I don't know why they tore that out instead of fixing it, but that's what effectively terminated safe pedestrian access to that bridge when they did that back at the end of the Secaucus Junction construction project. So that's why I brought it up. So it was my comments over here were that they didn't make sense when read out of order here, but it was reconstructing it. Then everyone has to stay on the riverside, and then there's no crossing and no danger involved in that thing. Those were the three comments that went together and what I was saying. You see what I mean? Can you picture? Yep. Did any of you guys remember that walkway?
You're physically separated, with the separate walkway, like you said, from the roadway. So, it's an added safety benefit.
And if you had it made it a little wider, you could maybe throw the bicycles over there too. Have a bike lane and a pedestrian lane. They don't need to be as wide as traffic lanes.
Right.
I was not aware of that separate walkway. Maybe what we can do is we can reach out for Secaucus and see if we can get a copy of those original plans if we don't have them already, because I'd be really curious to see what that looked like.
Yeah, I might have some photos of it from the old days. Let's look it up.
Yeah, I might get some off Google Earth too, which has some historical photos. But we can reach out for the town and see if we get a copy of the plan for that.
Okay, great.
Was that all you had for us, David?
That's all at this point. Yeah, just want to.
Okay.
I appreciate it. It's great.
Just want to make sure you had all your questions and comments in. Thank you. A couple other comments were happening again while you were speaking. It said they inverted the track to accommodate the train station. Sorry, they diverted the track to accommodate the train station.
The Frank Lautenberg's Berg's train station, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. But they only diverted it about 10 yards. They could have rebuilt the platform.
Yeah, I don't know why that decision was made. You know, that would be something we could discuss with New Jersey Transit.
We don't have too many people remaining here in the meeting. So again, we welcome you to provide feedback to the team, questions, comments. If you don't want to speak, you can type them into the chat box. And of course, if you've gotten all your questions and comments in, then we encourage you to submit official comments through the website. Again, it's on the screen, meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. You can mail them. The address is on the screen, and you can also email them to me or Tom Malavasi. We thank you for your participation as well. A couple of comments coming in. So where previously several thousand people had direct access to the trains, now there was a forced bus connection. Yes, I know this is a New Jersey Transit issue, not yours, just griping.
Understandable.
Yep.
Intertransit is a stakeholder for this project, so this comment will be forwarded to them. If you can submit it officially to the project website.
Which once again is meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. We must have all official comments in writing by September 8th. So please be sure to send them to us by then. Anyone else on the meeting today that would like to participate? We do have just a couple of people left, and once again would like to encourage everyone to participate verbally or via the chat box. Your feedback is incredibly valued to the team, and the public involvement process is incredibly valuable in general towards the success of this project. So that's why we're driving that message home over and over, because you are the ones who voice your comments and concerns and questions that help the project team in the next steps of the plan. So again, your voices and your comments are very much appreciated. Since the Harmon Cove Tower people submitted most of the surveys and comments, I hope we get a proportionately outsized part of considerations.
That seems fair.
And as I mentioned, we do have just about every address in Harmon Cove on our stakeholder list and in our mailing list. So everyone is receiving these invitations via email and mail wherever we have addresses for. So everyone has been encouraged to participate in the process. And we do appreciate all of the Harmon Cove Tower people. I see 2 remaining participants on the line. Again, you are encouraged to participate verbally or non-verbally if you'd like to ask a question. We will be here waiting for any additional people who may show up late and would like to participate in the meeting tonight. So we will be here waiting. If you'd like to speak, by all means, type into the chat box or turn your camera on and wave to me, and I will certainly get to you. Not you, Bernie.
Thank you.
All right, the time is now 7 p.m. and this concludes our meeting. Thank you to everyone who participated in this Public Information Center. If you have any additional questions or would like to submit a formal comment, please contact us via the project website at meadowlandsparkwaybridge.com. All comments must be made via mail, email, or through the project website by September 8th. The recording of tonight's presentation will be available along with the PDF of all the slides within 24 to 48 hours. So on behalf of the project team and our presenters, thank you for joining us and have a wonderful evening.